I mean, we're all in the network age now. Like, you don't have to be a technologically oriented philosopher like Alexander Bard to know that we're totally permeated by digital information networks and sort of like living information webs as the basic way we appreciate reality now. It becomes the lens we use for the world. So we now see social networks, we see neurological networks, we see that nature is permeated through with mycelial networks and all kinds of living information webs. So more and more, and we feel like this is just getting started, our appreciation of the way the whole world functions is going to be based on how networks operate. And the essence of a network is essentially a link, or a link that can reiterate itself. And a link is a very interesting structure. It's simultaneously something that's connected and separate. So it has the form of non-duality. It also has the form of parallax. Like a parallax is when two perspectives are close enough that they overlap without becoming the same. And at the special threshold between them, you get stereoscopic vision. You get a new kind of salience into reality. So that possibility that's afforded by the simultaneous nature of separation and connection that's inside a link, that's also the structure of non-duality. And by bringing non-duality together with the basic idea underlying networks, we can start to see how this whole new kind of reality works together with classic spirituality. It is and it isn't. The first course is not a precondition, and I think going forward we want the parallax courses to be modules that can stand on their own. But obviously, if you've gone through the previous material, then the amount of richness and nuance and power that you find in the new courses would be deepened. Yeah, so there's going to be 4 sessions like there was last time. They're going to be a little bit longer this time. And so we'll be looking at, in the first session, the sort of theology and philosophy. What does divinity look like in a world that's made of networks and connections? In the second one, we're going to be looking at interior individual practice, right? The kinds of things that we might have previously said develop being in an individual. What does that look like in an age of becoming for a individual? What is real self-cultivation if what you are is an interior network, a collaboration, a community? And what kinds of practices and framings of practice work best for that? And then similarly between people. So the third one will be the interpersonal, the collaborative. How do we develop the skills in community that really allow us to be participants in building up the kind of networks we want, super meaningful networks, where we can get non-dual shared experience that then becomes the basis for a new religiosity. And the fourth one will be, how does all of this fit into sort of the mood of the world today, the background, ecological, and global experience? Because the network age reveals the accelerating collapse of the previous age, and it also kind of pushes that collapse a little bit faster. So we are in a kind of a dark time, and we have to appreciate apocalypse and death, and we have to grieve through a lot of things. But at the same time, we have to do that so that we can become capable of participating together in the production of a better world, a more utopian possibility that brings our new network technology and our new sense of ecological networks and our new sense of divinity together to make a world that's worth living in and fighting for. So we're going to have, similar to before, there'll be some pre-recorded theory material you can access. There will be these live sessions. People who can't make those time slots will be able to see that at other times if they want to. And they'll be a little bit longer. It'll be 90 minutes instead of an hour, so that we really have time to get into some ideas, some variations on practices, and really get the feedback from people about how those experiences and practices land with them. Because the people here are not passive receivers of what I have to say. They're collaborative co-creators of what this new religiosity and spirituality is going to be like. So we need a little bit of that extra time so that everybody can presence how it's landing for them and where they want to go with it. And then we're also going to have these additional sessions, these campfire sessions, which will be informal. I'll be there, but it's not going to be all about me. I'm not going to be in a teaching mode, but I can take questions and people can share with me or share with each other how they're going through this, what the practices they are working on in their lives are, even if it's material from outside of what we're working on in the course, just a way to sort of deepen it with a different mood. mean, a lot of the technical changes we've made are from direct feedback from people, all right? They needed a little more time. They wanted some less formal modes of exchange as well. I was really impressed last time with the caliber of the people that were involved. And generally, I was really attentive to the types of practices that they seemed most turned on by. And some of those were the remorse practices and the embracing of negativity practices that very often are not foregrounded well enough in spiritual communities. That we have to really be able to take the darkness and limitation and negativity of the world on board, not because we get stuck there, but because it's a precondition for being a healthy, real participant in building the kind of future that we want. I mean, I find this is a really crucial convergence, right? There's a lot of people whose lives are oriented around spiritual practice, and they're not always sure how it fits together with some of the larger, more philosophical and social transformative visions that people put forward in the same community. On the other hand, there are a lot of people who are really into the philosophy, the sociology, the technology, the world crisis, and they don't always take that next step of turning it into real practice, real self-cultivation and real community practice. So I really want us to be thinking together. I can take the lead on that, but we'll be thinking and feeling together to figure out how to bring those things together. Because if we have a spirituality and a religiousness that doesn't fit the world we live in, then it's not going to work. But if we understand the world and we don't turn that into real self-transformation and real wisdom cultivation, then it's going to be a bankrupt understanding of the world. And this fundamental notion of what a separative connector is, of what a link is, something that joins and divides in the same motion in a reciprocal exchange of information. It's such a beautiful concept because it brings together so much of radical transformative spirituality and so much of what's going on in the world that we live in now. So I think that key concept allows us to make those into the same convergent understanding. It gives us a spiritualized world possibility that we can inhabit and evolve a dharma to inhabit it with.